It goes much deeper than you imagine.
Protect your sisters. Yes, sir. Stand. What does that always say?
Sully, stick together.
No, the other. I'll kill you! I swear!
Avatar: Fire and Ash is one of the most highly anticipated cinematic releases in modern film history, continuing the legendary science fiction saga created by, and while the film itself expands the world of Pandora into darker and more complex territory. Understanding its full impact requires beginning with its foundational context, including production scale, budget, release strategy, and its position within the larger Avatar franchise. The film is officially titled and is scheduled for a global theatrical release in December 2025. Following the massive success of its predecessors, particularly and, both of which redefined visual storytelling and box office expectations, the production of Fire and Ash has been part of a long-term strategy by James Cameron, who planned multiple sequels simultaneously, allowing for consistent world-building and technological innovation. The estimated budget for Avatar: Fire and Ash is believed to be between $250 million and $300 million US. Though some industry analysts suggest that when combined with the parallel production of other sequels, the effective investment could be significantly higher, making it one of the most expensive film projects ever undertaken. This massive budget reflects not only the scale of visual effects and performance capture technology used but also the ambition of expanding Pandora into new environmental and cultural dimensions, particularly with the introduction of the Ash people, a fire-associated Na'vi clan that represents a darker and more aggressive side of Pandora's ecosystem, unlike the lush forests of the first film or the oceanic environments of the second. Fire and Ash is expected to explore volcanic landscapes, ash-covered territories, and morally complex societies that challenge the previously established harmony between nature and the Na'vi. In terms of release strategy, the film is set for a wide theatrical release across global markets, including IMAX, 3D, and high frame rate formats, continuing the franchise's tradition of pushing cinematic technology to its limits. After its theatrical run, the film is expected to arrive on the OTT platform Disney+ Hotstar. As part of Disney's distribution model following its acquisition of 20th Century Studios, which now handles the Avatar franchise, this ensures that the film will reach both cinema audiences and streaming viewers worldwide. The cast of Avatar: Fire and Ash includes returning actors such as Jake Sully, as Neytiri, and other key characters introduced in previous films, while also expanding the ensemble with new characters that represent the Ash clan and other evolving factions within Pandora. One of the most intriguing aspects of this installment is its tonal shift, as James Cameron has hinted that Fire and Ash will move away from the clear moral divisions seen in earlier films and instead explore more complex character motivations, including Na'vi groups that are not purely benevolent. This narrative direction adds a new layer of depth to the franchise, transforming it from a story of external conflict between humans and Na'vi into a more nuanced exploration of internal divisions, ideology, and survival. From a box office perspective, expectations are extremely high, given that the first Avatar film earned approximately $2.9 billion worldwide and The Way of Water crossed $2.3 billion, making the franchise one of the most successful in cinematic history. Analysts predict that Fire and Ash has the potential to generate over $2 billion globally if it meets audience expectations in terms of visuals, storytelling, and emotional engagement. However, this also creates significant pressure, as the film must not only match but surpass the achievements of its predecessors in order to justify its massive production cost and long development timeline. One of the key strengths of the Avatar series has always been its ability to combine cutting-edge technology with universal themes such as family, identity, environmental preservation, and cultural conflict. And Fire and Ash is expected to continue this tradition while introducing darker and more mature elements. The shift toward a more morally ambiguous narrative could redefine the franchise's identity, making it more complex and potentially more engaging for audiences who are looking for deeper storytelling beyond visual spectacle. At the same time, this approach carries risks, as it may challenge the expectations of viewers who are accustomed to the more straightforward emotional arcs of the earlier films. Overall, Avatar: Fire and Ash represents not just another sequel but a significant evolution in the franchise. Combining massive production scale, advanced technology, and a bold narrative direction that seeks to expand the boundaries of what the Avatar universe can represent, this first part of the review establishes the foundation for understanding the film's importance within the broader cinematic landscape, setting the stage for a deeper exploration of its story, characters, themes, and overall impact in the subsequent sections. Avatar: Fire and Ash continues its expansion as one of the most ambitious cinematic projects ever attempted. And in order to fully understand its scope and impact, it is essential to explore the production process, technological innovation, and creative vision that drive the film beyond just its surface-level spectacle. Under the direction of the Avatar franchise has always been defined by its relentless pursuit of technological advancement, and this third installment is no exception. In fact, it is arguably the most technically demanding chapter yet. Building upon the groundbreaking performance capture and underwater filming techniques introduced in while pushing them into entirely new environments that include volcanic regions, ash-filled atmospheres, and extreme lighting conditions that require a different approach to rendering and animation, the estimated budget of approximately $250 to $300 million reflects not only the scale of the production but also the extensive research and development required to create these new visual environments. The filmmakers have reportedly spent years refining simulation systems that can accurately depict fire, smoke, ash, and their interaction with characters and surroundings in a way that feels both realistic and visually compelling. This is particularly important given that the introduction of the Ash People, a fire-associated Na'vi clan, represents a major thematic and aesthetic shift for the franchise, unlike the bioluminescent forests or the vibrant ocean ecosystems of the second film. Fire and Ash explores a harsher and more volatile side of Pandora, where survival is shaped by extreme conditions and where the connection between the Na'vi and their environment takes on a more complex and potentially conflicted form. This shift in environment is mirrored by a shift in tone, as Cameron has indicated that the film will delve into darker themes and more morally ambiguous character dynamics, making it not just a visual evolution but also a narrative one. From a production standpoint, one of the most significant aspects of this film is the way it was developed alongside other planned sequels, allowing for a level of continuity and long-term storytelling that is rarely seen in modern cinema. This approach ensures that character arcs, thematic elements, and world-building details are carefully integrated across multiple films, creating a cohesive and expansive narrative universe. The cast plays a crucial role in bringing this vision to life, with returning performances from as Jake Sully and as Neytiri providing continuity and emotional grounding. while new characters introduce fresh perspectives and conflicts that challenge the established dynamics. The performance capture technology used in the film allows actors to deliver nuanced performances that are translated into their Na'vi counterparts with remarkable fidelity, capturing subtle facial expressions and body language that enhance the emotional depth of the story. This level of detail is one of the defining features of the Avatar franchise, setting it apart from other large-scale visual effects films. In terms of release strategy, Fire and Ash is designed to be a global cinematic event. With a wide theatrical release planned across multiple formats including IMAX and advanced 3D systems, continuing the tradition of making Avatar films not just movies but immersive experiences that are best enjoyed on the big screen. Following its theatrical run, the film is expected to be available on Disney+ Hotstar, aligning with the distribution model established by previous entries in the franchise. This dual-release strategy ensures that the film reaches both traditional cinema audiences and the growing global streaming market. From a financial perspective, the stakes are incredibly high, given the massive budget and the expectations set by the previous films, both of which achieved unprecedented box office success. The first Avatar film remains the highest-grossing movie of all time with approximately $2.9 billion in revenue. While The Way of Water also crossed the $2.3 billion mark, setting a high benchmark for Fire and Ash to meet or exceed, industry analysts predict that the film has strong potential to achieve similar levels of success. Particularly if it can deliver on its promise of visual innovation and deeper storytelling. However, the increased complexity and darker tone also introduce a level of risk, as they may challenge audience expectations and require a more engaged and thoughtful viewing experience. Overall, this stage of the review highlights the immense effort, innovation, and ambition behind Avatar: Fire and Ash, emphasizing that it is not merely a continuation of a successful franchise but a bold attempt to push the boundaries of cinematic storytelling and technology. Setting the stage for a deeper exploration of its narrative structure, character development, and thematic significance in the sections that follow, Avatar: Fire and Ash begins to reveal its deeper narrative structure as the story shifts from pure spectacle and production scale into a more layered exploration of its central plot, characters, and thematic direction. Building upon the events of where Jake Sully and his family sought refuge among the oceanic Metkayana clan, this third installment pushes the narrative into uncharted territory by introducing a new and more dangerous region of Pandora dominated by volcanic landscapes and the Ash people. A Na'vi clan whose relationship with nature is fundamentally different from anything seen before in the franchise, under the continued direction of the film, takes a bold step in shifting the tone from the more emotionally centered family survival story of the second film into a darker and more complex narrative that explores conflict not only between humans and Na'vi but also within the Na'vi themselves. This internal division becomes one of the most compelling aspects of the story as it challenges the previously established idea that the Na'vi exist in perfect harmony with their environment and with each other. Instead, presenting a more nuanced depiction of a society shaped by survival, ideology, and differing interpretations of their connection to Awa, the spiritual force that binds Pandora together. Jake Sully, portrayed once again by, finds himself in an increasingly difficult position as a leader and a father, forced to navigate a world where the lines between ally and enemy are no longer clearly defined. His experiences from previous conflicts have made him cautious and strategic. But the introduction of the Ash people presents challenges that cannot be solved through the same methods he has relied on before. Neytiri, played by, continues to serve as both an emotional anchor and a fierce protector of her family and her people. Her perspective becomes particularly important as the narrative explores themes of identity, tradition, and the consequences of change. The Ash people themselves are portrayed not simply as antagonists but as a complex society with their own beliefs, struggles, and motivations. Their harsh environment has shaped them into a more aggressive and survival-driven culture, one that views strength and dominance as necessary for survival in a world defined by fire and destruction. This portrayal adds depth to the narrative, transforming the conflict from a straightforward battle into a more intricate exploration of opposing worldviews. The film's story structure is designed to gradually reveal these complexities. Beginning with the Sully family's arrival in this new region and their initial attempts to understand and adapt to the environment, followed by a series of escalating tensions that lead to confrontations both physical and ideological. The pacing is carefully balanced, allowing time for world building and character development while maintaining a sense of urgency that drives the narrative forward. Visually, this part of the film introduces a stark contrast to the previous installments. Replacing the vibrant blues and greens of Pandora's forests and oceans with darker, more intense tones dominated by reds, oranges, and blacks, the volcanic landscapes are depicted with a level of detail and realism that reflects the technological advancements achieved during production. Creating an environment that feels both alien and grounded, the interaction between fire, ash, and the characters adds a dynamic element to the action sequences, making them visually distinct from anything seen in the earlier films. The soundtrack also evolves to match this shift in tone, incorporating deeper, more intense musical elements that enhance the sense of danger and emotional complexity. One of the key strengths of this segment of the story is its ability to expand the Avatar universe while maintaining a strong emotional core. The relationships between the characters continue to be a central focus, particularly the dynamics within the Sully family as they face new challenges that test their unity and resilience. The film also begins to explore broader themes such as the cost of survival, the nature of power, and the possibility of coexistence between fundamentally different cultures. These themes are woven into the narrative in a way that feels organic and meaningful, adding depth to the story without overshadowing its entertainment value. From a critical perspective, this approach has the potential to elevate Fire and Ash beyond a typical blockbuster sequel, positioning it as a film that not only delivers visual spectacle but also engages with more complex and thought-provoking ideas. However, it also introduces certain risks, as the darker tone and more intricate narrative may not appeal equally to all audiences, particularly those who prefer the more straightforward storytelling of the earlier films. Overall, this portion of Avatar Fire and Ash establishes the foundation for a narrative that is both ambitious and emotionally resonant, setting the stage for further developments that will explore the full extent of its characters, conflicts, and themes in the sections that follow. Avatar Fire and Ash continues to deepen its narrative as the story moves beyond initial introductions and begins to explore the emotional, cultural, and ideological tensions that define this darker chapter of the saga. Expanding upon the foundation laid in the film places Jake Sully and his family in an increasingly complex environment where survival is no longer just about escaping human threats but about understanding and navigating a fractured Na'vi world. Under the visionary direction of the storytelling takes a deliberate turn toward moral ambiguity, presenting a scenario where the traditional boundaries between hero and antagonist are blurred. The Ash people are not depicted as purely hostile but as a society shaped by extreme conditions. Their volcanic homeland forces them to adopt a more aggressive and survival-focused way of life, which in turn influences their beliefs, traditions, and interactions with outsiders. This cultural depth adds a layer of realism and complexity to the narrative, making the conflict feel more grounded and less like a simple battle between good and evil. Jake Sully, portrayed by finds himself struggling to maintain his role as both a protector and a leader. His experiences from previous battles have given him the skills to confront external threats. But the internal divisions within the Na'vi present a different kind of challenge, one that requires diplomacy, understanding, and a willingness to question his own assumptions. Neytiri, played by continues to embody the emotional and cultural strength of the Na'vi. Her connection to Pandora and its traditions becomes even more significant as the narrative explores the consequences of change and the tension between preserving identity and adapting to new realities. Her perspective often serves as a counterbalance to Jake's more pragmatic approach, creating a dynamic that enriches both characters and highlights the complexity of their situation. The film also places greater emphasis on the younger members of the Sully family, whose experiences reflect the broader themes of identity and belonging. Growing up in a world that is constantly shifting, they are forced to reconcile their heritage with the realities of their environment, adding an intergenerational dimension to the story that enhances its emotional depth. The Ash people are further developed in this segment, with their leaders and key figures introduced in ways that reveal their motivations and internal dynamics. Their society is shown to be structured around strength, resilience, and a deep connection to the volatile forces of their environment. Their rituals, traditions, and social hierarchy are explored through a series of visually striking scenes that blend cultural storytelling with the film's signature visual effects. These elements contribute to a richer understanding of their worldview, making it clear that their actions are driven by necessity and belief rather than simple antagonism. Visually, this part of the film continues to push the boundaries of cinematic technology. The volcanic landscapes are rendered with extraordinary detail, capturing the movement of lava, the texture of ash, and the interplay of light and shadow in a way that feels both immersive and dynamic. The use of color plays a significant role in establishing the film's tone, with deep reds, fiery oranges, and stark blacks dominating the visual palette, creating a sense of intensity and danger that contrasts sharply with the more serene environments of the earlier films. The action sequences are designed to take full advantage of this setting, incorporating elements such as erupting terrain, shifting ground, and airborne ash to create scenes that are both visually spectacular and narratively meaningful. The choreography of these sequences reflects the characters' adaptation to their environment, with movements that are more aggressive, fluid, and responsive to the unpredictable conditions around them. The soundtrack evolves alongside the visuals, incorporating deeper, more intense musical themes that enhance the emotional and dramatic impact of each scene. One of the most compelling aspects of this segment is the way it builds tension through both action and dialogue. The conflicts are not only physical but also ideological, as characters from different backgrounds and belief systems struggle to find common ground. This dual-layered approach adds depth to the narrative, making each confrontation feel significant and consequential. From a critical perspective, this part of the film demonstrates a clear effort to expand the scope of the Avatar universe, introducing new ideas and challenges that push the story beyond its previous boundaries. However, it also requires a careful balance to ensure that the complexity of the narrative does not overwhelm the audience. The pacing is managed in a way that allows for both high-intensity sequences and quieter moments of reflection, ensuring that the story remains engaging while providing the necessary context for its developments. Overall, this portion of Avatar: Fire and Ash serves as a crucial step in the film's progression, deepening its characters, enriching its world building, and setting the stage for the escalating conflicts and emotional revelations that will define the remainder of the story. Avatar: Fire and Ash continues to intensify as the narrative moves into a phase where emotional depth, cultural conflict, and large-scale stakes begin to fully intertwine, creating a story that feels both epic and deeply personal at the same time. Building on the groundwork established earlier, this section of the film focuses heavily on the growing tension between the Sully family and the Ash people, as well as the internal struggles that arise from trying to understand a culture that operates under entirely different principles of survival and belief. Under the direction of the storytelling maintains its layered approach, ensuring that no single perspective dominates the narrative, instead presenting a multifaceted view of a world where conflict is driven by necessity, history, and deeply rooted ideology. Jake Sully, portrayed by is pushed further into a leadership role that requires not only strength but also adaptability and empathy. His previous experiences have prepared him for combat and strategy, but the challenges presented in this new environment demand a different kind of approach, one that involves negotiation, understanding, and the ability to navigate complex social dynamics. Neytiri, played by, continues to represent the emotional and cultural core of the narrative. Her connection to Pandora and its traditions becomes increasingly significant as she grapples with the changes taking place around her. Her perspective highlights the tension between preserving identity and adapting to new realities, making her one of the most compelling characters in this segment. The younger members of the Sully family are given greater focus, their experiences reflecting the broader themes of identity, belonging, and the challenges of growing up in a world that is constantly shifting. Their interactions with the Ash people provide a unique lens through which the audience can explore the cultural differences and similarities between the two groups. The Ash people themselves are further developed as a complex and multifaceted society. Their leaders and key figures are given more depth, revealing motivations that go beyond simple aggression. Their harsh environment has shaped their worldview, leading them to value strength, resilience, and control over the volatile forces that surround them. Their rituals and traditions are depicted with a level of detail that adds authenticity and richness to the narrative, making their culture feel fully realized and integral to the story. Visually, this segment of the film continues to push the boundaries of cinematic technology. The volcanic landscapes are brought to life with stunning realism, capturing the movement of lava, the texture of ash, and the interplay of light and shadow in ways that create a truly immersive experience. The use of color remains a defining feature, with intense reds and oranges dominating the visual palette, reinforcing the sense of danger and intensity that permeates the story. The action sequences are designed to take full advantage of this environment, incorporating elements such as erupting terrain, shifting ground, and airborne ash to create dynamic and visually striking moments. The choreography of these sequences reflects the characters' adaptation to their surroundings, with movements that are more aggressive and fluid, emphasizing the unpredictability of the environment. The soundtrack continues to evolve, incorporating deeper and more intense musical themes that enhance the emotional and dramatic impact of each scene. One of the most notable aspects of this section is the way it balances large-scale spectacle with intimate character moments. The film does not rely solely on its visual effects to engage the audience, but instead uses them as a backdrop for a story that is driven by relationships, emotions, and the complexities of cultural interaction. The pacing is carefully managed, allowing for moments of reflection and character development between the more intense action sequences, ensuring that the audience remains emotionally invested in the story. From a critical perspective, this part of the film demonstrates a clear commitment to expanding the narrative scope of the Avatar universe, introducing new themes and challenges that push the story beyond its previous boundaries. However, it also requires a careful balance to ensure that the complexity of the narrative remains accessible and engaging. Overall, this portion of Avatar: Fire and Ash serves as a significant step forward in the film's progression, deepening its characters, enriching its world building, and setting the stage for the escalating conflicts and emotional developments that will define the remainder of the story, making it a crucial and compelling chapter in the overall narrative arc. Avatar: Fire and Ash continues its expansive narrative with increasing intensity as the story moves into a phase where emotional conflict, ideological division, and environmental danger begin to merge into a single, powerful driving force, pushing the characters toward decisions that will define not only their personal journeys but also the future of Pandora itself. Under the direction of the film maintains its signature blend of spectacle and depth, but in this segment the focus shifts more heavily toward the consequences of misunderstanding and the difficulty of coexistence between fundamentally different cultures. Jake Sully, portrayed by finds himself increasingly caught between his role as a protector of his family and his responsibility as a bridge between different Na'vi clans. His experiences have taught him the value of unity. But the reality of the Ash people's worldview challenges that belief, forcing him to reconsider whether true coexistence is possible or whether conflict is inevitable in a world shaped by such extreme conditions. Neytiri, played by, becomes even more central to the emotional core of the narrative. Her deep connection to Pandora and its spiritual balance places her in direct opposition to the Ash people's more aggressive and survival-driven philosophy. Yet her journey in this segment is not defined solely by resistance but also by a growing awareness that understanding may be just as important as defense. This internal struggle adds layers to her character, making her both a symbol of tradition and a figure capable of growth and adaptation. The younger members of the Sully family continue to develop as key perspectives within the story. Their interactions with the Ash people reveal moments of curiosity, fear, and unexpected connection, highlighting the idea that the next generation may be better equipped to navigate the complexities of a changing world. The Ash people themselves are portrayed with increasing depth and nuance. Their leaders and key figures are given more screen time and narrative focus, allowing the audience to understand their motivations, fears, and the harsh realities that have shaped their culture. Their society is built on resilience and control, values that are necessary for survival in their volatile environment but that also create tension when interacting with other clans. This portrayal reinforces the film's central theme that conflict often arises not from inherent evil but from differing perspectives and circumstances. Visually, this segment continues to showcase the groundbreaking technology and artistry that define the Avatar franchise. The volcanic landscapes are rendered with extraordinary detail, capturing the dynamic movement of lava, the swirling patterns of ash, and the interplay of light and shadow in ways that create a vivid and immersive world. The use of color remains a powerful storytelling tool, with intense reds and oranges dominating the visual palette, creating a sense of urgency and danger that permeates every scene. The action sequences become more intense and strategically complex, incorporating the environment into the choreography in ways that feel both organic and innovative. Characters move through shifting terrain, navigate erupting landscapes, and engage in combat that reflects their adaptation to these extreme conditions. The soundtrack continues to evolve alongside the narrative, incorporating deeper and more intense musical elements that enhance the emotional weight and dramatic impact of each moment. One of the most compelling aspects of this section is the way it builds tension through both action and dialogue. The conflicts are not only physical but also ideological, as characters from different backgrounds struggle to reconcile their beliefs and find common ground. This dual-layered approach adds depth to the narrative, making each confrontation feel significant and meaningful. From a critical perspective, this part of the film demonstrates a strong commitment to expanding the thematic scope of the Avatar universe, exploring issues such as cultural identity, environmental adaptation, and the challenges of coexistence in a way that feels both relevant and engaging. However, it also requires careful pacing to ensure that the complexity of these themes does not overwhelm the audience. Overall, this portion of Avatar Fire and Ash serves as a crucial chapter in the film's progression, deepening the emotional and thematic layers of the story while setting the stage for the more intense conflicts and resolutions that will follow, making it a compelling and thought-provoking segment that highlights the franchise's ability to combine visual spectacle with meaningful storytelling. Avatar Fire and Ash continues to evolve into a deeply layered and emotionally charged narrative as the story moves into a phase where the consequences of earlier tensions begin to manifest in more direct and unavoidable ways, pushing both the characters and the world of Pandora toward a state of instability that feels both inevitable and transformative. Under the direction of the film maintains its commitment to blending large-scale visual spectacle with intimate character-driven storytelling. But in this segment the balance begins to shift slightly toward the emotional and philosophical dimensions of the conflict. Jake Sully, portrayed by finds himself increasingly aware that the challenges he faces are no longer limited to external threats but are deeply rooted in the complexities of cultural misunderstanding and competing ideologies. His attempts to mediate between the Sully family's values and the Ash people's worldview become more strained, as it becomes clear that both sides are operating under fundamentally different assumptions about survival, power, and their relationship with Pandora. Neytiri, played by, continues to embody the emotional heart of the story. Her connection to the spiritual essence of Pandora places her in a position where she must reconcile her deep respect for tradition with the need to adapt to a rapidly changing reality. Her journey in this segment is marked by moments of introspection and emotional intensity, as she begins to question not only the actions of the Ash people but also the limitations of her own perspective. This internal conflict adds depth to her character and highlights the broader theme of growth through understanding. The younger members of the Sully family remain central to the narrative, their experiences reflecting the uncertainty and possibility inherent in a world that is undergoing profound change. Their interactions with members of the Ash people reveal moments of tension as well as unexpected connection, suggesting that the future may hold the potential for a different kind of relationship between these groups. One that is not defined solely by conflict. The Ash people themselves are further explored in this segment, with greater emphasis placed on their internal dynamics and the pressures that shape their actions. Their society is depicted as one that values strength, resilience, and control, qualities that are necessary for survival in their harsh environment but that also create barriers to understanding and cooperation. Their leaders are portrayed with increasing complexity, revealing motivations that are rooted in both necessity and belief, rather than simple antagonism. This nuanced portrayal reinforces the film's central theme that conflict is often the result of deeply ingrained differences rather than inherent malice. Visually, this part of the film continues to push the boundaries of what is possible in cinematic storytelling. The volcanic landscapes are rendered with extraordinary detail, capturing the movement of molten lava, the swirling patterns of ash, and the dramatic interplay of light and shadow in ways that create a truly immersive experience. The use of color remains a defining element, with intense reds, oranges, and dark tones dominating the visual palette, creating a sense of tension and urgency that permeates every scene. The action sequences become more complex and emotionally driven, incorporating elements of the environment in ways that enhance both their visual impact and their narrative significance. Characters navigate unstable terrain, react to sudden eruptions, and engage in confrontations that reflect their evolving understanding of the world around them. The soundtrack continues to evolve alongside the narrative, incorporating deeper and more layered musical compositions that enhance the emotional resonance of each moment. One of the most compelling aspects of this segment is the way it builds toward a turning point, where the accumulated tensions and unresolved conflicts begin to demand resolution. The pacing is carefully managed to maintain a sense of momentum while allowing for moments of reflection and character development, ensuring that the audience remains fully engaged with both the spectacle and the emotional core of the story. From a critical perspective, this portion of the film demonstrates a strong commitment to expanding the thematic and emotional depth of the Avatar universe, exploring complex issues such as cultural identity, environmental adaptation, and the possibility of coexistence in a way that feels both relevant and compelling. However, it also requires a delicate balance to ensure that these themes are presented in a way that remains accessible and engaging for a broad audience. Overall, this segment of Avatar Fire and Ash serves as a crucial step in the narrative progression, deepening the emotional stakes, enriching the world building, and setting the stage for the more intense developments that are yet to come. making it a compelling and thought-provoking chapter in the overall story. Avatar: Fire and Ash continues to build toward a powerful and emotionally charged turning point as the narrative enters a phase where tensions that have been developing throughout the story begin to surface in more direct and consequential ways, creating a sense of urgency and inevitability that drives both the characters and the audience deeper into the unfolding conflict. Under the direction of the film maintains its intricate balance between large-scale spectacle and intimate character development. But in this segment there is a noticeable shift toward the consequences of accumulated misunderstandings, cultural clashes, and unresolved emotional struggles. Jake Sully, portrayed by finds himself increasingly confronted with the limitations of his role as a mediator and protector. His efforts to bridge the gap between his family and the Ash people are met with resistance and suspicion from both sides, highlighting the difficulty of achieving unity in a world defined by deeply ingrained differences. His internal conflict becomes more pronounced as he begins to question whether his presence is helping to resolve the situation or inadvertently intensifying it. Neytiri, played by, continues to grapple with her own emotional and cultural dilemmas. Her strong connection to Pandora and its traditions places her in a position where she must defend her beliefs while also confronting the reality that change is inevitable. Her journey in this segment is marked by moments of emotional intensity and introspection. As she begins to recognize that understanding the Ash people may require her to challenge her own assumptions, this realization adds depth to her character and reinforces the film's overarching theme of growth through empathy and awareness. The younger members of the Sully family play an increasingly significant role in this part of the story. Their interactions with the Ash people reveal both the potential for connection and the persistence of misunderstanding. Their experiences highlight the idea that the next generation may hold the key to bridging the divide between different cultures, but only if they are able to navigate the complexities of identity and belonging. The Ash people themselves are portrayed with greater depth and nuance, their internal conflicts and societal pressures becoming more visible as the narrative progresses. Their leaders are shown to be navigating their own challenges, balancing the need for strength and control with the realities of maintaining stability within a harsh and unpredictable environment. This portrayal reinforces the idea that their actions are driven by necessity and belief rather than simple antagonism. Visually, this segment continues to showcase the groundbreaking technology and artistry that define the Avatar franchise. The volcanic landscapes are rendered with remarkable detail, capturing the dynamic movement of lava, the swirling patterns of ash, and the dramatic interplay of light and shadow in ways that create a vivid and immersive world. The use of color remains a powerful storytelling tool, with intense reds, oranges, and deep shadows dominating the visual palette, creating a sense of tension and urgency that permeates every scene. The action sequences become more intense and emotionally driven, incorporating elements of the environment in ways that enhance both their visual impact and their narrative significance. Characters navigate unstable terrain, react to sudden eruptions, and engage in confrontations that reflect their evolving understanding of the world around them. The soundtrack continues to evolve alongside the narrative, incorporating deeper and more complex musical compositions that enhance the emotional resonance of each moment. One of the most compelling aspects of this section is the way it builds toward a critical turning point, where the accumulated tensions and unresolved conflicts begin to demand resolution. The pacing is carefully managed to maintain a sense of momentum while allowing for moments of reflection and character development, ensuring that the audience remains fully engaged with both the spectacle and the emotional core of the story. From a critical perspective, this portion of the film demonstrates a strong commitment to expanding the thematic and emotional depth of the Avatar universe, exploring complex issues such as cultural identity, environmental adaptation, and the challenges of coexistence in a way that feels both relevant and compelling. However, it also requires careful execution to ensure that these themes remain accessible and engaging for a broad audience. Overall, this segment of Avatar Fire and Ash serves as a crucial step in the narrative progression, deepening the emotional stakes, enriching the world building, and setting the stage for the more intense developments that are yet to come. Making it a compelling and thought-provoking chapter in the overall story. Avatar Fire and Ash advances into a crucial narrative phase where the slow-burning tension that has been building across earlier segments begins to crystallize into direct conflict. Emotional confrontation, and irreversible decisions, creating a powerful sense of momentum that drives the story forward with increasing intensity. Under the masterful direction of the film maintains its signature balance between visual grandeur and emotional storytelling. But in this segment the emphasis shifts more heavily toward consequence, as the characters are forced to confront the results of their actions, beliefs, and misunderstandings. Jake Sully, portrayed by reaches a point where his role as a mediator between cultures begins to fracture under pressure. His attempts to maintain peace between his family and the Ash people become increasingly difficult as mistrust grows and communication breaks down. He is forced to confront the possibility that his presence, rather than bridging the gap, may be intensifying the conflict. This realization creates a deep internal struggle, as he must decide whether to continue seeking understanding or to prepare for inevitable confrontation. Neytiri, played by Experience, is a parallel emotional journey. Her strong connection to Pandora and its spiritual balance places her in direct opposition to the Ash people's more aggressive and survival-driven philosophy. Yet her character evolves in this segment as she begins to recognize that absolute resistance may not be enough to protect what she values. Her internal conflict becomes more pronounced as she struggles to reconcile her instincts with the changing reality around her. The younger members of the Sully family continue to play a significant role in shaping the emotional tone of the narrative. Their experiences reflect both the fear and the potential that come with living in a world defined by uncertainty. Their interactions with the Ash people highlight moments of tension as well as unexpected understanding, suggesting that the future may depend on their ability to navigate these complexities in ways that their elders cannot. The Ash people themselves become even more central to the story. Their internal dynamics and leadership structures are explored in greater depth, revealing a society that is not only shaped by its harsh environment but also by its own internal struggles. Their leaders are shown grappling with decisions that will determine the survival and direction of their people, adding a layer of complexity that reinforces the idea that they are not simply antagonists but participants in a larger and more nuanced conflict. Visually, this segment of the film continues to push the boundaries of cinematic storytelling. The volcanic landscapes are depicted with extraordinary realism, capturing the fluid movement of lava, the dense atmosphere of ash, and the dramatic interplay of light and shadow in ways that create a truly immersive experience. The use of color remains a powerful storytelling tool, with deep reds, fiery oranges, and dark tones dominating the visual palette, reinforcing the sense of danger and intensity that defines this part of the narrative. The action sequences become more focused and emotionally driven, incorporating the environment in ways that enhance both their visual impact and their narrative significance. Characters are seen navigating unstable terrain, reacting to sudden eruptions, and engaging in confrontations that reflect their evolving understanding of the world around them. The choreography of these sequences emphasizes both physical skill and emotional urgency, making each moment feel significant and impactful. The soundtrack continues to evolve alongside the narrative, incorporating deeper and more complex musical elements that enhance the emotional resonance of each scene. One of the most compelling aspects of this segment is the way it builds toward a decisive turning point, where the accumulated tensions and unresolved conflicts begin to demand action. The pacing is carefully managed to maintain a sense of urgency while allowing for moments of reflection and character development, ensuring that the audience remains fully engaged with both the spectacle and the emotional core of the story. From a critical perspective, this portion of the film demonstrates a strong commitment to exploring the consequences of cultural conflict and the challenges of coexistence in a way that feels both relevant and compelling. However, it also requires careful execution to ensure that the complexity of these themes remains accessible to a broad audience. Overall, this segment of Avatar: Fire and Ash serves as a pivotal chapter in the narrative progression, intensifying the emotional stakes, deepening the thematic exploration, and setting the stage for the dramatic confrontations and resolutions that will define the remainder of the story, making it one of the most impactful and engaging parts of the film so far. Avatar: Fire and Ash moves into an even more intense and emotionally complex phase as the narrative crosses a critical threshold where tensions that have been steadily building now begin to erupt into open conflict, forcing every character to confront not only external threats but also their own beliefs, fears, and responsibilities. Under the visionary direction of the film continues to balance large-scale cinematic spectacle with deeply personal storytelling. But in this segment the emotional weight becomes significantly heavier as the consequences of misunderstanding, mistrust, and cultural division begin to manifest in unavoidable ways. Jake Sully, portrayed by finds himself pushed to his limits as both a leader and a father. His attempts to maintain peace and understanding between his family and the Ash people begin to collapse under the pressure of escalating tensions. He is forced to confront the harsh reality that some conflicts cannot be resolved through dialogue alone. This realization creates a profound internal struggle as he must decide whether to continue pursuing unity or to prepare for confrontation in order to protect those he loves. Neytiri, played by experiences an equally powerful emotional journey. Her connection to Pandora and its spiritual balance places her in a position where she must defend her beliefs while also confronting the reality that the world around her is changing in ways that cannot be ignored. Her internal conflict becomes more intense as she struggles to reconcile her instincts with the need to adapt, making her one of the most emotionally compelling figures in this segment. The younger members of the Sully family continue to play a vital role in shaping the narrative. Their experiences reflect the uncertainty and complexity of a world in transition. Their interactions with the Ash people reveal both the potential for connection and the persistence of misunderstanding, highlighting the idea that the future may depend on their ability to navigate these challenges in ways that their elders cannot. The Ash people themselves are portrayed with increasing depth and nuance. Their internal struggles and leadership decisions become more central to the story, revealing a society that is not only shaped by its harsh environment but also by its own internal conflicts and pressures. Their leaders are shown grappling with choices that will determine the survival and direction of their people, adding a layer of complexity that reinforces the film's central theme that conflict often arises from necessity and belief rather than inherent malice. Visually, this segment of the film continues to showcase the groundbreaking technology and artistry that define the Avatar franchise. The volcanic landscapes are rendered with extraordinary detail, capturing the dynamic movement of lava, the swirling patterns of ash, and the dramatic interplay of light and shadow in ways that create a vivid and immersive world. The use of color remains a powerful storytelling tool, with intense reds, oranges, and deep shadows dominating the visual palette, creating a sense of urgency and danger that permeates every scene. The action sequences become more intense and emotionally driven, incorporating elements of the environment in ways that enhance both their visual impact and their narrative significance. Characters navigate unstable terrain, react to sudden eruptions, and engage in confrontations that reflect their evolving understanding of the world around them. The choreography of these sequences emphasizes both physical skill and emotional urgency, making each moment feel significant and impactful. The soundtrack continues to evolve alongside the narrative, incorporating deeper and more complex musical compositions that enhance the emotional resonance of each scene. One of the most compelling aspects of this section is the way it builds toward a major turning point. where the accumulated tensions and unresolved conflicts begin to demand decisive action. The pacing is carefully managed to maintain a sense of momentum while allowing for moments of reflection and character development, ensuring that the audience remains fully engaged with both the spectacle and the emotional core of the story. From a critical perspective, this portion of the film demonstrates a strong commitment to exploring the consequences of cultural conflict and the challenges of coexistence in a way that feels both relevant and compelling. However, it also requires careful execution to ensure that the complexity of these themes remains accessible and engaging for a broad audience. Overall, this segment of Avatar: Fire and Ash serves as a powerful and emotionally charged chapter in the narrative, intensifying the stakes, deepening the characters, and setting the stage for the dramatic confrontations and resolutions that will follow, making it one of the most impactful and engaging parts of the film so far. Avatar: Fire and Ash enters a deeply pivotal and emotionally charged phase as the narrative transitions from escalating tension into full-scale confrontation, where every unresolved conflict, ideological divide, and personal struggle begins to manifest in ways that are both visually spectacular and emotionally devastating. Under the direction of the film continues to blend groundbreaking cinematic technology with layered storytelling. But in this segment the focus intensifies on the consequences of choices, the fragility of trust, and the cost of survival in a world that is rapidly losing its balance. Jake Sully, portrayed by reaches a breaking point as his efforts to mediate between his family and the Ash people collapse under the weight of growing mistrust and escalating hostility. He is forced to confront the reality that his vision of unity may no longer be achievable through peaceful means. This realization drives him into a state of internal conflict where his instincts as a protector begin to override his desire for understanding, creating a powerful tension that defines his character in this segment. Neytiri, played by experiences an equally intense emotional journey, her connection to Pandora and its spiritual essence is tested as the world around her becomes increasingly unstable. She is faced with the challenge of defending her beliefs while also adapting to a reality that is far more complex and unpredictable than she had ever imagined. Her struggle highlights the broader theme of balancing tradition with change, making her one of the most emotionally compelling figures in the narrative. The younger members of the Sully family continue to serve as a lens through which the audience can explore the evolving dynamics of the conflict. Their experiences reflect both the fear and the possibility inherent in a world that is undergoing profound transformation. Their interactions with the Ash people reveal moments of connection as well as conflict, suggesting that the future may depend on their ability to navigate these complexities in ways that their elders cannot. The Ash people themselves are portrayed with increasing depth and nuance. Their internal dynamics and leadership decisions become central to the unfolding narrative, revealing a society that is not only shaped by its harsh environment but also by its own internal struggles and pressures. Their leaders are shown grappling with choices that will determine the survival and direction of their people, adding a layer of complexity that reinforces the idea that their actions are driven by necessity and belief rather than simple antagonism. Visually, this segment of the film represents one of its most intense and visually striking chapters. The volcanic landscapes are brought to life with extraordinary realism, capturing the explosive energy of erupting lava, the suffocating presence of ash-filled air, and the dramatic interplay of light and shadow in ways that create a truly immersive experience. The use of color remains a powerful storytelling tool, with deep reds, fiery oranges, and dark shadows dominating the visual palette, creating a sense of urgency and danger that permeates every scene. The action sequences become larger in scale and more emotionally driven, incorporating the environment in ways that enhance both their visual impact and their narrative significance. Characters are seen navigating collapsing terrain, reacting to violent eruptions, and engaging in confrontations that reflect their evolving understanding of the world around them. The choreography of these sequences emphasizes both physical intensity and emotional stakes, making each moment feel impactful and meaningful. The soundtrack continues to evolve alongside the narrative, incorporating powerful and emotionally resonant musical elements that heighten the dramatic tension and deepen the audience's connection to the story. One of the most compelling aspects of this section is the way it builds toward a major turning point, where the accumulated tensions and unresolved conflicts reach a breaking point that demands decisive action. The pacing is carefully managed to maintain a relentless sense of momentum while still allowing for moments of reflection and character development, ensuring that the audience remains fully engaged with both the spectacle and the emotional core of the story. From a critical perspective, this portion of the film demonstrates a strong commitment to exploring complex themes such as cultural conflict, identity, and the consequences of survival-driven choices. However, it also requires careful execution to ensure that these themes remain accessible and engaging for a broad audience. Overall, this segment of Avatar: Fire and Ash serves as a powerful and transformative chapter in the narrative, intensifying the stakes, deepening the emotional impact, and setting the stage for the climactic events that will define the remainder of the story, making it one of the most compelling and impactful parts of the film so far. Avatar: Fire and Ash progresses into one of its most intense and defining phases as the narrative fully embraces the consequences of the escalating conflict, bringing together emotional tension, ideological division, and large-scale action in a way that feels both overwhelming and deeply personal. Under the visionary direction of the film continues to push the boundaries of cinematic storytelling. But in this segment the focus shifts even more strongly toward the emotional fallout of the choices made by the characters. Jake Sully, portrayed by finds himself at a critical crossroads where his role as a mediator has effectively collapsed, leaving him with the difficult responsibility of protecting his family in a situation where trust has been broken and conflict appears unavoidable. His internal struggle becomes more intense as he grapples with the realization that his efforts to create unity may have inadvertently accelerated the division between the groups. This adds a layer of emotional weight to his character, making his decisions feel both urgent and deeply consequential. Neytiri, played by, continues to evolve as one of the emotional anchors of the story. Her connection to Pandora and its spiritual balance is tested in ways that challenge her understanding of both tradition and change. Her journey in this segment is marked by moments of grief, anger, and determination, as she confronts the reality that the world she has always known is undergoing irreversible transformation. Her perspective provides a powerful contrast to Jake's more pragmatic approach, highlighting the emotional and cultural dimensions of the conflict. The younger members of the Sully family become increasingly central to the narrative, their experiences reflecting the broader themes of identity, belonging, and the challenges of growing up in a world defined by uncertainty. Their interactions with the Ash people reveal both the potential for connection and the persistence of misunderstanding, emphasizing the idea that the future may depend on their ability to navigate these complexities in ways that their elders cannot. The Ash people themselves are portrayed with even greater depth and nuance, their internal conflicts and leadership struggles becoming a key part of the story. Their society is shown to be under immense pressure as they attempt to maintain control and stability in an environment that is inherently volatile. Their leaders are forced to make difficult decisions that reflect both their desire to protect their people and the harsh realities of their situation. This portrayal reinforces the film's central theme that conflict is often driven by necessity and belief rather than simple antagonism. Visually, this segment of the film represents a culmination of the technological advancements and artistic vision that define the Avatar franchise. The volcanic landscapes are depicted with breathtaking realism, capturing the explosive energy of erupting lava, the dense atmosphere of ash, and the dramatic interplay of light and shadow in ways that create a truly immersive experience. The use of color remains a defining feature, with intense reds, fiery oranges, and deep shadows dominating the visual palette, creating a sense of urgency and danger that permeates every scene. the action sequences become larger in scale and more emotionally charged. Incorporating the environment in ways that enhance both their visual impact and their narrative significance, characters navigate collapsing terrain, react to violent eruptions, and engage in confrontations that reflect their evolving understanding of the world around them. The choreography of these sequences emphasizes both physical intensity and emotional stakes, making each moment feel impactful and meaningful. The soundtrack continues to evolve alongside the narrative, incorporating powerful and emotionally resonant musical elements that heighten the dramatic tension and deepen the audience's connection to the story. One of the most compelling aspects of this section is the way it builds toward a critical turning point, where the accumulated tensions and unresolved conflicts begin to reach their peak, forcing the characters to confront the consequences of their actions in ways that will shape the outcome of the story. The pacing is carefully managed to maintain a sense of urgency while still allowing for moments of reflection and character development, ensuring that the audience remains fully engaged with both the spectacle and the emotional core of the narrative. From a critical perspective, this portion of the film demonstrates a strong commitment to exploring complex themes such as cultural conflict, identity, and the cost of survival in a way that feels both relevant and emotionally resonant. However, it also requires careful execution to ensure that these themes remain accessible and engaging for a broad audience. Overall, this segment of Avatar: Fire and Ash serves as a powerful and emotionally charged chapter in the narrative, intensifying the stakes, deepening the characters, and setting the stage for the climactic events that are yet to come, making it one of the most impactful and engaging parts of the film so far. Avatar: Fire and Ash continues its powerful progression as the narrative approaches the peak of its dramatic arc, entering a phase where every emotional conflict, cultural divide, and survival-driven decision begins to collide with an intensity that reshapes both the characters and the world around them. Under the visionary direction of the film sustains its signature balance between breathtaking spectacle and deeply personal storytelling. But in this segment, the emotional weight becomes even more pronounced as the consequences of earlier actions begin to fully unfold. Jake Sully, portrayed by finds himself in a position where leadership is no longer about negotiation or adaptation but about making decisive choices in the face of irreversible change. His attempts to maintain unity have been challenged to their limits, and he must now confront the reality that protecting his family may require actions that go against the ideals he once fought for. This internal conflict adds significant depth to his character, as he struggles to balance his instincts as a warrior with his desire for peace. Neytiri, played by Experience, is one of her most emotionally intense arcs in this segment. Her connection to Pandora and its spiritual essence is tested in ways that force her to confront both loss and transformation. Her journey is marked by moments of grief, anger, and resilience, as she navigates a reality where the boundaries between tradition and change are increasingly blurred. Her perspective provides a powerful emotional anchor for the story, highlighting the human cost of the larger conflict. The younger members of the Sully family continue to play a crucial role in shaping the narrative, their experiences reflecting the broader themes of identity, belonging, and the challenges of growing up in a world defined by instability. Their interactions with the Ash people reveal both the persistence of division and the potential for connection, suggesting that the future may depend on their ability to find common ground in ways that their elders cannot. The Ash people themselves are portrayed with a level of depth and nuance that further reinforces the film's commitment to complex storytelling. Their internal struggles and leadership challenges become increasingly central to the narrative, revealing a society that is under immense pressure to survive and adapt in an environment that is both physically and emotionally demanding. Their leaders are faced with difficult decisions that reflect both their desire to protect their people and the harsh realities of their existence. This portrayal emphasizes the idea that conflict is often driven by necessity and perspective rather than simple antagonism, Visually, this segment of the film reaches new heights of intensity and artistry. The volcanic landscapes are depicted with extraordinary realism, capturing the explosive energy of erupting lava, the suffocating presence of ash-filled air, and the dramatic interplay of light and shadow in ways that create a truly immersive experience. The use of color remains a defining feature, with deep reds, fiery oranges, and dark shadows dominating the visual palette, creating a sense of urgency and danger that permeates every scene. The action sequences become even more dynamic and emotionally charged. Incorporating the environment in ways that enhance both their visual impact and their narrative significance, characters are seen navigating collapsing terrain, reacting to violent eruptions, and engaging in confrontations that reflect their evolving understanding of the world around them. The choreography of these sequences emphasizes both physical intensity and emotional stakes, making each moment feel impactful and meaningful. The soundtrack continues to evolve alongside the narrative, incorporating powerful and emotionally resonant musical elements that heighten the dramatic tension and deepen the audience's connection to the story. One of the most compelling aspects of this section is the way it builds toward an inevitable climax, where the accumulated tensions and unresolved conflicts begin to converge into a moment of decisive action. The pacing is carefully managed to maintain a sense of urgency while still allowing for moments of reflection and character development, ensuring that the audience remains fully engaged with both the spectacle and the emotional core of the narrative. From a critical perspective, this portion of the film demonstrates a strong commitment to exploring complex themes such as cultural conflict, identity, and the consequences of survival-driven choices. However, it also requires careful execution to ensure that these themes remain accessible and engaging for a broad audience. Overall, this segment of Avatar: Fire and Ash serves as a powerful and emotionally charged chapter in the narrative, intensifying the stakes, deepening the characters, and setting the stage for the climactic events that are about to unfold, making it one of the most impactful and engaging parts of the film so far. Avatar: Fire and Ash advances into a decisive and emotionally overwhelming phase where the narrative reaches the edge of its full-scale climax, bringing together every thread of tension, cultural conflict, and personal struggle into a powerful convergence that defines the fate of Pandora and its inhabitants. Under the visionary direction of the film maintains its extraordinary balance between visual spectacle and deeply emotional storytelling. But in this segment the focus intensifies on the irreversible consequences of choices made by the characters. Jake Sully, portrayed by Stans at the center of this convergence as his journey reaches one of its most critical turning points. No longer able to rely on diplomacy or negotiation, he is forced to embrace his role as a protector in its most direct form. His internal conflict becomes even more pronounced as he grapples with the realization that preserving his family and his people may require sacrifices that challenge his deepest beliefs. This transformation adds significant weight to his character, making his decisions feel both urgent and deeply impactful. Neytiri, played by Experience, is one of her most emotionally powerful arcs in this segment. Her connection to Pandora and its spiritual essence is tested to its limits as the world around her undergoes rapid and often violent change. Her journey is marked by moments of profound grief, fierce determination, and unwavering resilience, as she confronts the reality that the balance she has always fought to protect is no longer stable. Her perspective continues to provide a strong emotional anchor for the story, highlighting the personal cost of the larger conflict. The younger members of the Sully family play an increasingly central role in shaping the direction of the narrative. Their experiences reflect the broader themes of identity, belonging, and the challenges of navigating a world defined by instability and transformation. Their interactions with the Ash people reveal both the persistence of division and the potential for understanding, suggesting that the future may depend on their ability to bridge the gap between these two worlds. The Ash people themselves are portrayed with even greater complexity. their internal struggles and leadership challenges becoming a key focus of the story. Their society is shown to be under immense pressure as they attempt to maintain control and stability in an environment that is inherently volatile. Their leaders are forced to make difficult decisions that reflect both their desire to protect their people and the harsh realities of their situation. This portrayal reinforces the film's central theme that conflict is often driven by necessity and perspective rather than simple antagonism. Visually, this segment of the film represents one of its most breathtaking achievements. The volcanic landscapes are brought to life with extraordinary realism, capturing the explosive energy of erupting lava, the suffocating presence of ash-filled air, and the dramatic interplay of light and shadow in ways that create a truly immersive experience. The use of color remains a defining feature, with intense reds, fiery oranges, and deep shadows dominating the visual palette, creating a sense of urgency and danger that permeates every scene. The action sequences become larger in scale and more emotionally charged, incorporating the environment in ways that enhance both their visual impact and their narrative significance. Characters are seen navigating collapsing terrain, reacting to violent eruptions, and engaging in confrontations that reflect their evolving understanding of the world around them. The choreography of these sequences emphasizes both physical intensity and emotional stakes, making each moment feel impactful and meaningful. The soundtrack continues to evolve alongside the narrative, incorporating powerful and emotionally resonant musical elements that heighten the dramatic tension and deepen the audience's connection to the story. One of the most compelling aspects of this section is the way it builds toward the peak of the film's climax, where the accumulated tensions and unresolved conflicts converge into a moment of decisive action that will determine the future of Pandora. The pacing is carefully managed to maintain a relentless sense of momentum while still allowing for moments of reflection and character development, ensuring that the audience remains fully engaged with both the spectacle and the emotional core of the narrative. From a critical perspective, this portion of the film demonstrates a strong commitment to exploring complex themes such as cultural conflict, identity, and the cost of survival in a way that feels both relevant and emotionally resonant. However, it also requires careful execution to ensure that these themes remain accessible and engaging for a broad audience. Overall, this segment of Avatar: Fire and Ash serves as a powerful and emotionally charged chapter in the narrative, intensifying the stakes, deepening the characters, and setting the stage for the climactic resolution that is about to unfold, making it one of the most impactful and unforgettable parts of the film. Avatar: Fire and Ash moves into the heart of its climactic resolution as the narrative reaches a stage where every emotional thread, cultural conflict, and personal transformation begins to culminate in a series of decisive and irreversible events. Under the masterful direction of the film maintains its extraordinary balance between large-scale spectacle and deeply personal storytelling. But in this segment the focus intensifies on the consequences of the choices made by its characters, as the world of Pandora stands on the brink of a transformation that will redefine its future. Jake Sully, portrayed by finds himself at the center of this turning point. His journey as a leader and protector reaching its most critical moment. No longer able to rely on negotiation or compromise, he is forced to confront the reality that decisive action is necessary to protect his family and to shape the outcome of the conflict. This realization creates a powerful internal struggle as he grapples with the cost of his decisions and the impact they will have on both his loved ones and the broader world of Pandora. Neytiri, played by experiences an equally intense emotional arc. Her connection to Pandora and its spiritual essence is tested to its limits as the balance she has always fought to protect begins to shift in unpredictable ways. Her journey in this segment is marked by moments of profound emotion, resilience, and determination, as she confronts the reality that the world she knows is changing in ways that cannot be reversed. Her perspective continues to provide a powerful emotional anchor for the story, Highlighting the personal stakes of the larger conflict, the younger members of the Sully family play a crucial role in shaping the direction of the narrative. Their experiences reflect the broader themes of identity, belonging, and the challenges of navigating a world that is undergoing rapid transformation. Their interactions with the Ash people reveal both the persistence of division and the potential for understanding, suggesting that the future of Pandora may depend on their ability to bridge the gap between these two worlds. The Ash people themselves are portrayed with increasing depth and complexity, their internal struggles and leadership challenges becoming central to the unfolding narrative. Their society is shown to be under immense pressure as they attempt to maintain stability in an environment that is inherently volatile. Their leaders are forced to make difficult decisions that reflect both their desire to protect their people and the harsh realities of their situation. This portrayal reinforces the film's central theme that conflict is often driven by necessity and perspective rather than simple antagonism. Visually, this segment of the film represents one of its most breathtaking achievements. The volcanic landscapes are depicted with extraordinary realism, capturing the explosive energy of erupting lava, the dense atmosphere of ash, and the dramatic interplay of light and shadow in ways that create a truly immersive experience. The use of color remains a defining feature, with deep reds, fiery oranges, and dark shadows dominating the visual palette, creating a sense of urgency and danger that permeates every scene. The action sequences reach their peak in terms of intensity and emotional impact, incorporating the environment in ways that enhance both their visual spectacle and their narrative significance. Characters navigate collapsing terrain, react to violent eruptions, and engage in confrontations that reflect their evolving understanding of the world around them. The choreography of these sequences emphasizes both physical intensity and emotional stakes, making each moment feel impactful and meaningful. The soundtrack continues to evolve alongside the narrative, incorporating powerful and emotionally resonant musical elements that heighten the dramatic tension and deepen the audience's connection to the story. One of the most compelling aspects of this section is the way it brings the narrative to a point of no return, where the decisions made by the characters will have lasting consequences that shape the future of Pandora. The pacing is carefully managed to maintain a relentless sense of momentum while still allowing for moments of reflection and emotional resonance, ensuring that the audience remains fully engaged with both the spectacle and the emotional core of the story. From a critical perspective, this portion of the film demonstrates a strong commitment to delivering a climax that is both visually stunning and emotionally satisfying, while also exploring complex themes such as cultural conflict, identity, and the cost of survival. Overall, this segment of Avatar: Fire and Ash serves as a powerful and transformative chapter in the narrative, bringing together its characters, themes, and conflicts in a way that prepares the stage for the final resolution, making it one of the most intense and memorable parts of the film. Avatar: Fire and Ash now enters one of its most crucial and emotionally overwhelming phases as the narrative approaches the final resolution, bringing together every layer of conflict, transformation, and character development into a powerful convergence that feels both inevitable and deeply impactful. Under the direction of the film sustains its extraordinary combination of large-scale cinematic spectacle and emotionally driven storytelling. But in this segment the focus shifts even more toward the consequences of the climax as the world of Pandora begins to respond to the choices made by its inhabitants. Jake Sully, portrayed by reaches a defining point in his journey where his role as a protector, leader, and father must be reconciled into a single decisive identity. The battles he has faced and the decisions he has made culminate in a moment where he must accept the full weight of responsibility for shaping the future. His internal conflict evolves into a sense of clarity, though not without emotional cost, as he comes to understand that true leadership often requires sacrifice and the willingness to face uncertain outcomes. Neytiri, played by Experience, is one of the most emotionally resonant arcs in this segment, Her deep connection to Pandora and its spiritual essence becomes both a source of strength and a point of vulnerability. As she confronts the aftermath of the conflict and the changes it has brought to her world, her journey is marked by moments of grief, reflection, and resilience, as she begins to process the loss and transformation that define this stage of the story. Her perspective continues to provide a powerful emotional anchor, grounding the narrative in personal experience even as the stakes remain global. The younger members of the Sully family play a vital role in shaping the tone of this segment. Their experiences reflect the broader themes of growth, identity, and the challenges of adapting to a world that has fundamentally changed. Their interactions with the Ash people begin to take on a different quality, moving beyond conflict into moments of cautious understanding and potential reconciliation, suggesting that the future of Pandora may depend on their ability to build connections where previous generations could not. The Ash people themselves are portrayed with a level of depth and nuance that reinforces the film's commitment to complex storytelling. Their internal struggles and leadership challenges continue to shape their actions. But there is also a growing sense that they too must adapt to the new reality that has emerged from the conflict. Their leaders are shown grappling with the consequences of their decisions, balancing the need for strength with the possibility of change. This portrayal highlights the idea that transformation is not limited to one side of the conflict but is a shared experience that affects all parties involved. Visually, this segment of the film maintains the high level of artistry and innovation that defines the Avatar franchise. The volcanic landscapes remain a central element, but there is a subtle shift in how they are presented, with moments of calm and stillness emerging amidst the chaos, reflecting the beginning of a new balance. The interplay of light and shadow continues to be used effectively to convey both the external environment and the internal emotional states of the characters. The action sequences, while still intense, begin to incorporate elements of resolution and cooperation, with choreography that reflects not only conflict but also the possibility of unity. The soundtrack evolves alongside these changes, blending powerful, dramatic compositions with more reflective and harmonious elements that signal the transition toward resolution. One of the most compelling aspects of this section is the way it begins to shift the narrative from conflict to consequence. Exploring the aftermath of the characters' actions and the ways in which they must now live with the outcomes of their choices, the pacing is carefully managed to allow for both reflection and forward movement, ensuring that the audience remains engaged while also providing the space needed for emotional resonance. From a critical perspective, this portion of the film demonstrates a strong commitment to delivering a resolution that is not only visually spectacular but also emotionally meaningful. Exploring themes such as responsibility, transformation, and the possibility of renewal in a way that feels both authentic and impactful. Overall, this segment of Avatar Fire and Ash serves as a powerful and emotionally resonant chapter that bridges the gap between climax and resolution, bringing together its characters, themes, and narrative developments in a way that prepares the audience for the final moments of the story, making it one of the most memorable and significant parts of the film. Avatar Fire and Ash moves into a deeply reflective and transformative phase as the narrative transitions from the immediate aftermath of its climactic events toward the shaping of a new reality for Pandora and its inhabitants. Under the visionary direction of the film continues to balance its grand visual scale with intimate emotional storytelling, but in this segment the emphasis shifts more strongly toward consequence, healing, and the uncertain process of rebuilding in a world that has been fundamentally altered. Jake Sully, portrayed by Now, faces the responsibility of not only leading his family but also helping to guide the fragile beginnings of a new balance between the different Na'vi clans. His journey in this segment is marked by introspection and acceptance, as he comes to terms with the choices he has made and the impact they have had on both his loved ones and the broader world of Pandora. His character evolves from one defined by action and reaction into one shaped by understanding and responsibility. Neytiri, played by experiences a deeply emotional arc as she processes the changes that have taken place. Her connection to Pandora and its spiritual essence becomes a source of both comfort and reflection, as she seeks to understand how the balance she has always believed in can exist within this new reality. Her journey is defined by moments of quiet strength and emotional depth. As she begins to reconcile her grief with the possibility of renewal, the younger members of the Sully family continue to play a crucial role in shaping the future of the narrative. Their experiences reflect the broader themes of growth, adaptation, and the potential for a new kind of unity. Their interactions with the Ash people begin to shift toward cautious cooperation, suggesting that the divisions that once defined their relationship may not be permanent. The Ash people themselves are portrayed with a renewed sense of complexity, their leaders and members now facing the consequences of their actions and the need to adapt to a changing world. Their society, once defined primarily by survival and control, begins to show signs of transformation as they explore the possibility of coexistence with other clans. This shift is not immediate or easy, and the film takes care to portray it as a gradual and often challenging process, reinforcing the idea that change requires both effort and understanding. Visually, this segment of the film introduces a subtle but meaningful shift in tone, while the volcanic landscapes remain a dominant feature. There are moments where the intensity of fire and ash gives way to glimpses of regeneration and balance. Small signs of life begin to emerge within the harsh environment, symbolizing the potential for renewal and growth even in the aftermath of destruction. The use of color evolves to reflect this change, with softer tones beginning to appear alongside the intense reds and oranges, creating a visual representation of the narrative's movement toward resolution. The action sequences in this segment are less focused on conflict and more on cooperation and adaptation, with choreography that emphasizes unity and shared purpose. The soundtrack mirrors this transition, incorporating more reflective and harmonious elements that enhance the emotional resonance of the story. One of the most compelling aspects of this section is the way it explores the idea that resolution is not a single moment but an ongoing process. The characters are not simply moving past the conflict but are actively engaging in the work of building a new future. This approach adds depth and realism to the narrative, emphasizing that true change requires time, effort, and a willingness to embrace uncertainty. The pacing is carefully managed to allow for both reflection and forward movement, ensuring that the audience remains engaged while also providing the space needed for emotional resonance. From a critical perspective, this portion of the film demonstrates a strong commitment to delivering a resolution that is both meaningful and thought-provoking, exploring themes such as responsibility, healing, and the possibility of renewal in a way that feels authentic and impactful. Overall, this segment of Avatar: Fire and Ash serves as a powerful and emotionally resonant chapter that bridges the gap between conflict and resolution, bringing together its characters, themes, and narrative developments in a way that prepares the audience for the final conclusion of the story, making it one of the most significant and memorable parts of the film. Avatar: Fire and Ash moves into a profound and emotionally resonant stage where the narrative begins to solidify its long-term consequences, focusing not only on what has been lost or won but on what must now be built in the aftermath of transformation. Under the direction of the film continues to deliver its signature blend of visual grandeur and emotional depth. But in this segment the emphasis shifts more strongly toward the idea of legacy, as the characters come to terms with the fact that their actions have reshaped the future of Pandora in ways that cannot be undone. Jake Sully, portrayed by emerges as a figure who must now carry the responsibility of guiding not just his family but a broader coalition of Na'vi clans toward a fragile and evolving balance. His journey in this segment is marked by reflection and resolve, as he begins to understand that leadership is no longer about immediate survival but about creating a foundation for future generations. His decisions are influenced not only by past experiences but also by a growing awareness of the interconnectedness of all life on Pandora. Neytiri, played by continues to embody the emotional and spiritual core of the story. Her connection to Pandora deepens as she seeks to understand how the changes brought by the conflict can coexist with the traditions and beliefs she holds dear. Her journey is defined by a balance between honoring the past and embracing the future, as she learns to channel her grief into strength and her love for her people into a renewed sense of purpose. The younger members of the Sully family become increasingly central to the narrative as symbols of hope and continuity. Their experiences reflect the broader themes of growth, adaptation, and the possibility of unity in a world that has been fundamentally altered. Their interactions with the Ash people and other clans begin to take on a more collaborative tone, suggesting that the next generation may be better equipped to bridge the divides that have defined the past. The Ash people themselves are portrayed with a renewed sense of complexity and evolution. Their society begins to shift as they confront the consequences of their actions and the need to adapt to a new reality. Their leaders are shown grappling with the challenge of maintaining their cultural identity while also exploring the possibility of coexistence with other clans. This internal struggle adds depth to their portrayal, reinforcing the idea that transformation is a shared experience that affects all sides of the conflict. Visually, this segment of the film introduces a more balanced and reflective aesthetic, while the volcanic landscapes remain a defining feature. There is a noticeable shift toward moments of calm and renewal, where the intensity of fire and ash is complemented by signs of regeneration and life. The use of color evolves to reflect this transition, with softer tones and more varied palettes emerging alongside the dominant reds and oranges, creating a visual representation of a world in the process of healing and transformation. The action sequences in this segment are more restrained, focusing less on large-scale conflict and more on the subtle dynamics of cooperation and adaptation. The choreography reflects this shift, emphasizing unity and shared purpose rather than opposition. The soundtrack mirrors these changes, incorporating more reflective and harmonious elements that enhance the emotional depth of the narrative. One of the most compelling aspects of this section is the way it explores the idea that true resolution is not defined by the end of conflict but by the beginning of a new chapter. The characters are not simply moving forward but are actively shaping the future, their actions guided by the lessons they have learned and the desire to create a more balanced and sustainable world. The pacing is carefully managed to allow for both reflection and progression, ensuring that the audience remains engaged while also providing the space needed for emotional resonance. From a critical perspective, this portion of the film demonstrates a strong commitment to delivering a conclusion that is both meaningful and thought-provoking, exploring themes such as legacy, responsibility, and the potential for renewal in a way that feels authentic and impactful. Overall, this segment of Avatar: Fire and Ash serves as a powerful and emotionally resonant chapter that brings the narrative closer to its final resolution, highlighting the growth of its characters and the evolution of its world, making it one of the most significant and memorable parts of the film. Avatar: Fire and Ash arrives at the culmination of its expansive narrative journey as this segment brings the story into its final phase of resolution, where every emotional arc, cultural conflict, and philosophical theme converges into a powerful and meaningful conclusion that defines not only the fate of its characters but also the future of Pandora itself. Under the masterful direction of the film maintains its extraordinary ability to blend breathtaking visual spectacle with deeply human storytelling, but in this closing phase the emphasis shifts almost entirely toward resolution, reflection, and the long-term implications of everything that has come before. Jake Sully, portrayed by reaches the final stage of his journey as a leader, father, and symbol of change. His character arc culminates in a profound understanding that true strength lies not only in the ability to fight and protect but also in the willingness to adapt, to listen, and to guide others toward a shared future. His decisions in this segment are shaped by the lessons he has learned throughout the story, reflecting a balance between action and wisdom that defines his growth. Neytiri, played by experiences a deeply emotional resolution as she reconciles her connection to Pandora with the changes that have transformed it. Her journey comes full circle as she finds a way to honor her traditions while embracing the possibility of a new balance. Her strength, resilience, and emotional depth remain central to the story, providing a powerful and heartfelt conclusion to her arc. The younger members of the Sully family emerge as symbols of hope and continuity. Their experiences throughout the narrative shaping them into individuals who are capable of navigating a world that is no longer defined by the same boundaries as before. Their relationships with the Ash people and other clans reflect the potential for unity and understanding, suggesting that the future of Pandora will be shaped by cooperation rather than division. The Ash people themselves reach a point of transformation as their society begins to integrate the lessons learned from the conflict. Their leaders and members are shown adapting to a new reality where coexistence is not only possible but necessary. Their journey reflects the broader themes of growth and change that define the film, reinforcing the idea that even the most deeply rooted differences can evolve over time. Visually, this final segment of the film represents a culmination of the technological and artistic achievements that define the Avatar franchise. The volcanic landscapes, once symbols of chaos and destruction, are now presented with a sense of balance and renewal, where the intensity of fire and ash is complemented by emerging signs of life and harmony. The use of color evolves to reflect this transformation, blending the intense tones of earlier segments with softer, more harmonious hues that symbolize the restoration of balance. The action sequences in this segment are more restrained and purposeful, focusing on resolution rather than conflict. With choreography that emphasizes unity, cooperation, and the culmination of the characters' journeys, the soundtrack reaches a powerful and emotional conclusion, combining the epic scale of earlier compositions with more reflective and harmonious elements that underscore the themes of resolution and renewal. One of the most compelling aspects of this final section is the way it ties together the various narrative threads, providing a sense of closure while also leaving room for future exploration. The pacing is carefully managed to ensure that each moment feels meaningful and impactful, allowing the audience to fully absorb the emotional and thematic significance of the conclusion. From a critical perspective, this portion of the film demonstrates a strong commitment to delivering a satisfying and thought-provoking ending, one that not only resolves the central conflicts but also reinforces the core themes of the story, including the importance of understanding, adaptability, and the potential for coexistence. Overall, this segment of Avatar Fire and Ash serves as a powerful and emotionally resonant conclusion to the film, bringing together its characters, themes, and visual achievements in a way that leaves a lasting impression on the audience, making it a fitting and impactful end to this chapter of the Avatar saga while also setting the stage for future stories within this richly imagined universe. Avatar Fire and Ash, even after delivering a powerful and emotionally satisfying conclusion, leaves behind a narrative space that extends far beyond its immediate ending, and this segment focuses on the broader implications, long-term impact, and future possibilities that arise from the events of the film. Under the visionary direction of the Avatar franchise has always been designed as an evolving saga rather than a standalone story. And this installment reinforces that approach by presenting an ending that feels complete in its emotional arcs while still opening pathways for future exploration. Jake Sully, portrayed by emerges from the events of the film not just as a survivor or a warrior but as a transformative leader whose actions have redefined the relationships between different Na'vi clans. His journey reflects a shift from reactive leadership to proactive guidance, suggesting that his role in the future of Pandora will involve maintaining the fragile balance that has been achieved. Neytiri, played by continues to represent the spiritual and emotional core of the narrative. Her ability to adapt while remaining deeply connected to her roots positions her as a key figure in shaping the cultural and emotional direction of Pandora's evolving society. Her arc suggests that the future will require a balance between tradition and change, a theme that resonates throughout the entire film. The younger members of the Sully family become increasingly significant as symbols of the next generation. Their experiences throughout the story have prepared them to navigate a world that is no longer defined by clear divisions. Their relationships with members of the Ash people and other clans hint at a future where cooperation and understanding may replace the conflicts of the past, making them central figures in any continuation of the story. The Ash people themselves undergo a transformation that extends beyond the immediate resolution of the conflict. Their society begins to adapt to a new reality where coexistence is not only possible but necessary. Their leaders and members are shown grappling with the challenges of preserving their identity while embracing change. This evolution adds depth to their portrayal and reinforces the film's central message that growth often emerges from conflict. Visually, the aftermath of the story is depicted with a sense of balance and renewal. The volcanic landscapes, once dominated by chaos and destruction, now show signs of stability and regeneration. The interplay of fire and life becomes a central visual motif, symbolizing the possibility of harmony between opposing forces. The use of color reflects this transition, blending the intense tones of earlier segments with softer, more balanced hues that suggest a world in the process of healing. The soundtrack mirrors this shift, incorporating elements that convey both resolution and anticipation, creating an emotional tone that feels both complete and open-ended. One of the most compelling aspects of this segment is the way it positions Avatar: Fire and Ash within the larger context of the Avatar saga. The film does not simply conclude a story but contributes to an ongoing narrative that continues to evolve with each installment. This approach allows for a deeper exploration of themes such as environmental balance, cultural identity, and the interconnectedness of all life, making the franchise not just a series of films but a cohesive and expanding universe. From a critical perspective, this portion of the film demonstrates a strong commitment to storytelling that extends beyond immediate resolution, offering a conclusion that is both satisfying and thought-provoking while also leaving room for future development. The pacing is carefully managed to ensure that the audience has time to reflect on the journey while also maintaining a sense of forward momentum. Overall, this segment of Avatar: Fire and Ash serves as a powerful epilogue that highlights the lasting impact of the film's events, reinforcing its themes, celebrating its characters, and setting the stage for what comes next, making it a fitting and meaningful extension of the story that ensures the legacy of the Avatar universe will continue to grow and evolve in the years to come. Avatar: Fire and Ash continues beyond its immediate narrative conclusion by opening a broader analytical perspective on the film's deeper themes, cinematic impact, and its place within both the Avatar saga and modern filmmaking as a whole. Under the visionary direction of the film is not simply designed as entertainment but as a layered cinematic experience that blends emotional storytelling with philosophical inquiry, and in this segment the focus shifts toward examining the thematic depth that defines the film's identity. One of the most significant elements explored in Fire and Ash is the concept of duality, represented through the contrasting environments, cultures, and ideologies present within Pandora. The volcanic landscapes of the Ash people serve as both a literal and symbolic representation of conflict, transformation, and survival, standing in stark contrast to the more harmonious ecosystems seen in earlier films such as N. This contrast is not merely aesthetic but deeply thematic, reflecting the idea that balance in nature and society often emerges from the interaction of opposing forces. Jake Sully, portrayed by embodies this duality in his role as both an outsider and a leader, a human who has become Na'vi, and a figure who must navigate the complexities of multiple identities. His journey throughout the film highlights the challenges of bridging divides and the importance of understanding perspectives that differ from one's own. Neytiri, played by represents another form of duality, as she balances her deep connection to tradition with the necessity of adapting to a changing world. Her character serves as a reminder that growth does not require the abandonment of identity but rather the integration of new experiences into existing beliefs. The Ash people themselves are perhaps the most striking representation of duality within the narrative. Their culture is defined by both destruction and resilience. Their connection to fire symbolizes both danger and renewal. And their role within the story challenges the audience to reconsider simplistic notions of good and evil. This complexity is one of the film's greatest strengths, as it elevates the narrative beyond a straightforward conflict into a more nuanced exploration of coexistence. Visually, the film reinforces these themes through its use of color, light, and composition. The interplay between the fiery reds and oranges of the volcanic regions and the cooler, more balanced tones that emerge in moments of resolution creates a visual language that mirrors the narrative's exploration of balance and transformation. The cinematography and visual effects work together to create a world that feels both immersive and symbolic, allowing the audience to experience the story on both an emotional and intellectual level. The soundtrack plays a crucial role in supporting these themes. Blending intense, dramatic compositions with more reflective and harmonious elements that underscore the film's emotional and philosophical depth. Another important aspect explored in this segment is the film's commentary on environmental and cultural issues. As with previous entries in the franchise, Fire and Ash uses its science fiction setting to explore real-world themes such as the relationship between humanity and nature, the impact of cultural conflict, and the importance of understanding and cooperation. These themes are presented in a way that feels organic to the story, avoiding heavy-handed messaging while still encouraging the audience to reflect on their own perspectives. From a critical standpoint, this thematic richness is one of the factors that sets the Avatar franchise apart from other blockbuster films, as it demonstrates a commitment to storytelling that goes beyond spectacle. However, it also presents a challenge, as the complexity of these themes requires careful execution to ensure that they remain accessible and engaging for a broad audience. Overall, this segment of Avatar Fire and Ash serves as a deeper analytical exploration of the film's core ideas, highlighting the ways in which its narrative, characters, and visual elements work together to create a cohesive and meaningful cinematic experience, reinforcing its position as not just a continuation of a successful franchise but as a significant contribution to the evolution of modern storytelling. Avatar Fire and Ash continues its expansive exploration of cinematic storytelling by shifting focus toward the technical mastery, artistic innovation, and filmmaking techniques that elevate it beyond a standard blockbuster experience. Under the direction of the film represents a culmination of decades of technological advancement and creative ambition, and in this segment the emphasis is placed on how these elements come together to create a truly immersive and groundbreaking viewing experience. One of the most defining aspects of the Avatar franchise has always been its use of cutting-edge visual effects, and Fire and Ash builds upon this legacy by introducing new advancements in rendering fire, ash, and atmospheric dynamics. The volcanic environments depicted in the film require a level of simulation and detail that pushes the boundaries of current technology, with complex particle systems used to create realistic interactions between characters and their surroundings. This includes the way ash settles on surfaces, how light refracts through smoke-filled air, and how heat distortion affects the visual field. These details may seem subtle but they contribute significantly to the overall immersion, making Pandora feel like a living, breathing world rather than a digitally constructed environment. The performance capture technology used in the film also reaches new heights, allowing actors such as to deliver performances that are translated into their Na'vi counterparts with remarkable accuracy, capturing not only their physical movements but also the subtle nuances of facial expression and emotion. This level of detail enhances the emotional depth of the characters, making their experiences feel authentic and relatable despite the fantastical setting. Another key aspect of the film's technical achievement is its use of advanced camera systems and high frame rate technology, which provide a level of clarity and fluidity that enhances both the action sequences and the quieter, more introspective moments. The cinematography is carefully designed to take full advantage of these technologies, with dynamic camera movements that follow the characters through complex environments while maintaining a sense of spatial awareness and visual coherence. The use of 3D technology is also refined, creating a sense of depth and immersion that goes beyond simple visual spectacle, allowing the audience to feel as though they are part of the world of Pandora. The film's production design plays a crucial role in supporting these technical achievements, with meticulous attention to detail in the creation of environments, costumes, and cultural elements. The Ash people's volcanic homeland is not only visually distinct but also culturally rich, with architecture, tools, and rituals that reflect their adaptation to a harsh and unpredictable environment. This level of detail adds authenticity and depth to the narrative, making the world feel fully realized and interconnected. The soundtrack and sound design are equally important in creating an immersive experience, with a combination of original compositions and carefully crafted sound effects that enhance the emotional and dramatic impact of each scene. The sound of erupting lava, shifting terrain, and atmospheric disturbances is designed to complement the visual elements, creating a cohesive sensory experience that draws the audience deeper into the story. From a critical perspective, the technical achievements of Avatar: Fire and Ash are among its most impressive aspects, demonstrating a commitment to innovation that sets it apart from other films in the genre. However, it also raises expectations for future installments, as audiences come to expect a certain level of visual and technical excellence from the franchise. Overall, this segment of the film highlights the importance of technical mastery in modern filmmaking, showing how advancements in technology can be used not only to create spectacle but also to enhance storytelling, emotion, and immersion, making Avatar: Fire and Ash a significant milestone in the evolution of cinematic art and a testament to the creative vision of its director and production team. Avatar: Fire and Ash continues its expansive exploration by shifting focus toward performance, character depth, and the emotional authenticity that anchors its massive cinematic scale, demonstrating how even within a visually overwhelming world, it is ultimately the human and relational elements that give the story its lasting impact. Under the direction of the film carefully balances technological spectacle with character-driven storytelling. And in this segment the emphasis lies on how the performances of the cast bring nuance, complexity, and emotional resonance to the narrative. Sam Worthington's portrayal of Jake Sully stands as one of the most significant pillars of the film, as he delivers a performance that reflects the evolution of his character from a soldier seeking purpose to a leader burdened with responsibility and moral conflict. His body language, vocal tone, and emotional range are translated seamlessly through performance capture technology, allowing the audience to connect with his internal struggles despite the fantastical nature of his Na'vi form. Zoe Saldana's portrayal of Neytiri continues to be one of the emotional highlights of the franchise. Her performance is marked by a powerful combination of strength, vulnerability, and cultural authenticity. She brings depth to a character who must navigate grief, change, and the challenge of maintaining her identity in a rapidly evolving world. Her expressions and movements convey a level of emotional intensity that resonates deeply with the audience, making her journey one of the most compelling aspects of the film. The supporting cast also plays a crucial role in enriching the narrative, particularly the younger members of the Sully family, whose performances bring a sense of realism and relatability to the story. Their interactions feel natural and emotionally grounded, reflecting the complexities of family dynamics in a high-stakes environment. Their growth throughout the film adds an additional layer of depth, as they are not merely observers of the conflict but active participants whose choices influence the direction of the narrative. The portrayal of the Ash people introduces a new dimension of performance within the franchise. As their characters require a balance between physical intensity and emotional depth, their leaders and key figures are brought to life through performances that convey both strength and internal conflict, making them more than simple antagonists and instead presenting them as fully realized individuals shaped by their environment and circumstances. This approach adds complexity to the narrative and encourages the audience to engage with the story on a deeper level. One of the most notable aspects of the performances in this film is the way they are enhanced by the integration of technology. The performance capture process allows for a level of detail that captures subtle facial expressions and body language, ensuring that the emotional authenticity of the actors is preserved even within a fully digital environment. This seamless integration of performance and technology is one of the defining features of the Avatar franchise and plays a significant role in its success. The film also explores the dynamics between characters in greater depth, particularly the relationships within the Sully family. These interactions are portrayed with a level of nuance that reflects the challenges of communication, trust, and understanding in a world defined by conflict and change. The tension between different perspectives is handled with care, allowing for moments of disagreement and reconciliation that feel authentic and meaningful. Visually, the film supports these performances through careful framing, lighting, and composition, ensuring that the emotional focus remains clear even in the midst of complex and visually dense scenes. Close-up shots are used effectively to capture subtle expressions, while wider shots provide context and scale, creating a balance that enhances both the emotional and visual aspects of the storytelling. The soundtrack and sound design further support the performances, with music that underscores key emotional moments and enhances the overall impact of the scenes. From a critical perspective, the strength of the performances in Avatar: Fire and Ash is a testament to the film's commitment to character-driven storytelling, demonstrating that even within a technologically advanced and visually spectacular world, it is the authenticity of the characters and their relationships that ultimately determine the success of the narrative. Overall, this segment of the film highlights the importance of performance in creating a compelling and immersive cinematic experience, showing how the combination of skilled acting and advanced technology can bring even the most fantastical stories to life in a way that feels real, emotional, and deeply engaging. Avatar: Fire and Ash continues its in-depth exploration by focusing on one of the most defining aspects of the franchise's identity, its music, sound design, and overall audio experience, which play a crucial role in shaping the emotional tone, narrative intensity, and immersive quality of the film. Under the direction of the Avatar series has always treated sound as more than just a supporting element, instead using it as a core storytelling tool. And in this segment the emphasis is placed on how Fire and Ash elevates this approach to new levels. The film's musical score builds upon the legacy established in earlier entries such as and while introducing new thematic elements that reflect the darker tone and evolving narrative of this installment. The compositions are carefully crafted to mirror the emotional journeys of the characters, with powerful orchestral arrangements that convey tension, conflict, and transformation, as well as more subtle and atmospheric pieces that enhance moments of introspection and connection. One of the most striking aspects of the film's score is its ability to adapt to the unique environment of the Ash people's volcanic homeland, incorporating deeper, more intense musical textures that reflect the harshness and volatility of this setting. The use of percussion and low-frequency elements creates a sense of weight and urgency, while layered harmonies add depth and complexity to the overall soundscape. The sound design itself is equally impressive, with meticulous attention given to the creation of environmental audio that brings Pandora to life in a fully immersive way. The sounds of flowing lava, crackling fire, shifting ash, and distant eruptions are crafted with a level of detail that makes the environment feel tangible and dynamic. These elements are not merely background noise but are integrated into the narrative in ways that enhance the emotional and dramatic impact of each scene. For example, moments of tension are often accompanied by subtle shifts in ambient sound, creating a sense of unease that builds anticipation before major events. The film also makes effective use of silence, allowing certain scenes to breathe and giving the audience space to fully absorb the emotional weight of key moments. This contrast between sound and silence is a powerful storytelling technique that adds depth and nuance to the overall experience. The vocal performances and dialogue are carefully balanced within this complex audio landscape, ensuring that the emotional authenticity of the characters is preserved even amidst the intensity of the film's action sequences. The integration of language and sound is particularly noteworthy, as the Navi language is used in ways that feel natural and immersive, further enhancing the sense of authenticity within the world of Pandora. The film's use of spatial audio technology also contributes to its immersive quality, with sound elements positioned in a way that reflects the physical environment and the movement of characters, creating a three-dimensional auditory experience that complements the visual spectacle. This is particularly effective in scenes that take place in the volcanic regions, where the direction and intensity of sound help to convey the scale and unpredictability of the environment. From a critical perspective, the audio design of Avatar: Fire and Ash represents one of its strongest achievements, demonstrating a level of craftsmanship and attention to detail that elevates the film beyond a purely visual experience. It highlights the importance of sound as an integral part of storytelling, capable of enhancing emotion, building tension, and creating a sense of immersion that draws the audience deeper into the narrative. However, it also requires careful balance to ensure that the complexity of the soundscape does not overwhelm the audience or detract from the clarity of the story. Overall, this segment of the film underscores the vital role that music and sound design play in shaping the overall experience of Avatar: Fire and Ash, showing how these elements work in harmony with the visuals, performances, and narrative to create a cohesive and impactful cinematic journey that resonates on both an emotional and sensory level, making it a key component of the film's success and its lasting impression on audiences. Avatar: Fire and Ash continues its comprehensive exploration by turning its attention toward editing, pacing, and narrative structure, which together form the backbone of how the story is experienced by the audience. Under the masterful direction of the film demonstrates a carefully controlled rhythm that balances large-scale action with quieter, emotionally driven moments. And in this segment the focus is on how these elements are orchestrated to maintain engagement while supporting the complexity of the narrative. One of the most notable aspects of the film's pacing is its deliberate progression. Rather than rushing through its story, Fire and Ash allows each phase of the narrative to develop organically, giving the audience time to fully absorb the world building, character dynamics, and thematic depth. This approach is consistent with earlier entries such as but is refined here to accommodate a more complex and layered storyline. The editing plays a crucial role in achieving this balance, with transitions between scenes designed to feel fluid and purposeful, allowing the narrative to move seamlessly between different locations, perspectives, and emotional tones. The film often uses cross-cutting techniques to build tension, interweaving multiple storylines in a way that highlights their interconnectedness and creates a sense of anticipation as events begin to converge. This is particularly effective in sequences where the actions of different characters influence one another, reinforcing the idea that the story is driven by a network of relationships and decisions rather than isolated events. The pacing of the action sequences is carefully calibrated to maximize their impact. Rather than relying on constant intensity, the film uses moments of build-up and release to create a dynamic rhythm that keeps the audience engaged. These sequences are often preceded by quieter moments that establish context and emotional stakes, making the action feel more meaningful and consequential. The editing during these scenes is precise and controlled, ensuring that the complexity of the visual effects does not compromise the clarity of the action. Each movement and interaction is presented in a way that allows the audience to follow the sequence without becoming overwhelmed. The film also makes effective use of temporal pacing, with certain scenes unfolding in real time to emphasize their emotional weight, while others are condensed to maintain narrative momentum. This variation in pacing adds depth to the storytelling, allowing different aspects of the narrative to be explored in ways that feel appropriate to their significance. The structure of the film is designed to guide the audience through a clear progression, beginning with the introduction of new environments and conflicts, moving through phases of tension and escalation, and culminating in a climactic resolution followed by a reflective conclusion. This structure provides a sense of coherence and direction, even as the narrative explores complex themes and multiple perspectives. The transitions between these phases are handled with care, ensuring that each shift feels natural and earned. The use of visual and auditory cues helps to signal these transitions, creating a cohesive flow that enhances the overall experience. From a critical perspective, the editing and pacing of Avatar: Fire and Ash are among its most effective elements, demonstrating a high level of craftsmanship and attention to detail. They play a crucial role in making the film's complex narrative accessible and engaging, ensuring that the audience remains invested in both the story and the characters. However, this approach also requires a certain level of patience from the audience, as the deliberate pacing may feel slow to those who prefer a more fast-paced narrative. Overall, this segment of the film highlights the importance of editing and pacing in shaping the overall experience, showing how these elements work in harmony with the visuals, performances, and sound design to create a cohesive and immersive cinematic journey, reinforcing the film's position as a carefully crafted and thoughtfully executed piece of storytelling that prioritizes depth and engagement over superficial spectacle. Avatar: Fire and Ash continues its comprehensive breakdown by focusing on cinematography, visual composition, and the artistic language of the camera, which together define how the audience perceives and emotionally connects with the world of Pandora. Under the visionary direction of the film elevates its visual storytelling to a level that goes beyond spectacle, using framing, movement, and lighting not just to display its environments but to communicate meaning, emotion, and thematic depth. One of the most striking aspects of the cinematography in Fire and Ash is its ability to contrast scale and intimacy. Sweeping wide-angle shots are used to showcase the vastness of Pandora's volcanic landscapes, capturing rivers of lava, ash-filled skies, and towering rock formations in a way that emphasizes both beauty and danger. These grand visuals are often juxtaposed with close-up shots that focus on the characters' expressions, allowing the audience to connect with their emotions even in the midst of overwhelming environments. This contrast creates a dynamic visual rhythm that keeps the storytelling grounded while still delivering a sense of epic scale. The camera movement in the film is carefully choreographed to enhance both action and emotion. Fluid tracking shots follow characters through complex terrain, creating a sense of immersion and continuity, while more static compositions are used during moments of introspection, allowing the audience to fully absorb the emotional weight of the scene. The use of depth of field is particularly effective, drawing attention to specific elements within the frame while maintaining a sense of the surrounding environment. This technique helps guide the viewer's focus without disrupting the natural flow of the scene. Lighting plays a crucial role in establishing the film's tone and atmosphere. The volcanic setting allows for a dramatic interplay of light and shadow, with glowing lava providing a natural source of illumination that casts dynamic and often unpredictable patterns across the characters and their surroundings. This creates a visual texture that feels both organic and cinematic, reinforcing the sense that the environment itself is an active participant in the story. The color palette is another key element of the film's visual language, dominated by deep reds, fiery oranges, and dark shadows. It reflects the intensity and volatility of the Ash people's world, while subtle shifts in color are used to indicate changes in mood, perspective, and narrative progression. Cooler tones are introduced in moments of calm or reflection, creating a visual contrast that enhances the emotional impact of these scenes. The composition of each frame is carefully designed to convey meaning, with elements such as symmetry, balance, and perspective used to reflect the relationships between characters and their environment. For example, characters are often positioned in ways that emphasize their isolation or connection, using the surrounding space to visually represent their internal states. The film also makes effective use of verticality, with scenes that emphasize height and depth to create a sense of scale and tension, particularly in environments where the terrain is unstable or unpredictable. From a technical standpoint, the integration of virtual camera systems allows for a level of precision and flexibility that enhances the overall quality of the cinematography, enabling the filmmakers to capture complex movements and compositions that would be difficult or impossible to achieve with traditional methods. This technology is used not just for spectacle but to support the storytelling, ensuring that each shot serves a purpose within the narrative. From a critical perspective, the cinematography of Avatar: Fire and Ash is one of its most impressive achievements, demonstrating a deep understanding of how visual elements can be used to enhance both the emotional and thematic aspects of a film. It reflects a level of craftsmanship and artistic vision that sets the film apart from many of its contemporaries. However, it also requires careful balance to ensure that the visual complexity does not overshadow the clarity of the story. Overall, this segment of the film highlights the importance of cinematography as a storytelling tool, showing how the careful use of camera techniques, lighting, and composition can transform a visually stunning world into a meaningful and emotionally engaging experience, reinforcing the idea that Avatar: Fire and Ash is not just a technical achievement but a work of cinematic art that uses every element at its disposal to tell a compelling and immersive story. Avatar: Fire and Ash continues its expansive analytical journey by turning its focus toward production design, world building, and the intricate cultural detailing that transforms Pandora from a visually impressive setting into a fully realized living world. Under the direction of the film demonstrates an extraordinary level of commitment to authenticity and immersion, and in this segment the emphasis is placed on how environments, architecture, costumes, and cultural elements are carefully crafted to reflect the identity and philosophy of the Ash people and the evolving world of Pandora. One of the most striking aspects of the production design is the creation of the volcanic regions that serve as the primary setting for this installment. These landscapes are not merely backdrops for action but are integral to the narrative, shaping the behavior, beliefs, and survival strategies of the characters who inhabit them. The terrain is depicted with a level of detail that conveys both its beauty and its danger. With jagged rock formations, flowing lava rivers, and ash-filled skies creating an environment that feels both alien and grounded in natural phenomena, this setting directly influences the design of the Ash people's settlements, which are constructed in ways that reflect their need for resilience and adaptability. Their structures are often built into the landscape itself, using natural formations as both protection and foundation. This integration of architecture and environment reinforces the idea that their culture is deeply connected to the forces that surround them. The costumes and physical design of the Ash people further emphasize this connection. Their appearance incorporates elements that reflect their environment, such as darker tones, textures that resemble charred materials, and markings that symbolize their relationship with fire and survival. These design choices are not purely aesthetic but serve to communicate information about their culture, hierarchy, and identity. The film also pays careful attention to the tools, weapons, and everyday objects used by the Ash people, ensuring that each item feels consistent with their environment and way of life. These details contribute to a sense of authenticity that enhances the overall immersion of the story. Beyond the Ash people, the film continues to expand the broader world of Pandora, introducing new regions, ecosystems, and cultural variations that add depth to the narrative. This expansion is handled in a way that maintains continuity with earlier films such as and while also pushing the boundaries of what the world can represent. The integration of these new elements is seamless, allowing the audience to explore unfamiliar aspects of Pandora without losing the sense of coherence that defines the franchise. The production design also plays a crucial role in supporting the film's themes. The contrast between different environments and cultures is used to highlight the diversity and complexity of Pandora, reinforcing the idea that there is no single way of living in harmony with nature. Instead, the film presents a range of perspectives, each shaped by unique circumstances and challenges. This approach adds depth to the narrative, encouraging the audience to engage with the story on a more thoughtful level. Visually, the attention to detail in the production design enhances the overall aesthetic of the film, creating a cohesive visual language that supports both the narrative and the emotional tone. The interplay between natural elements and constructed spaces is particularly effective, creating environments that feel dynamic and lived in, rather than static or artificial. From a critical perspective, the production design of Avatar: Fire and Ash is one of its most impressive achievements, demonstrating a level of craftsmanship and creativity that elevates the film beyond a standard blockbuster. It reflects a deep understanding of how visual and cultural elements can be used to enhance storytelling, making the world of Pandora